Alright, this is the Caldari Sentinel video. We are going to just go over the stats and some other things of just the Caldari specifically in this video. Let's just go in and look at the stats specifically right now. It has the most amount of shield out of all the Sentinels, quite a bit of armor too, but at the same time you are mainly a shield Sentinel here, especially with your shield recharge delay of only 4 seconds with a depleted recharge delay of only 1 second. Now I'll get to this in a little bit about what is important about that, but just note that it is probably the best in terms of any sort of shield suit, almost in the game I'd say, but maybe Caldari Scout or something is a little bit better. But anyways, in terms of Sentinels, this is the shield suit. Shield recharge rate of already 30 per second, which, while seems like a lot, really isn't a lot in the heat of battle. And I'll explain that again once we get to the fitting section. Armor repair rate of only 1 second, or 1 HP per second. Kinda not that great, but it's good that it at least has it, because you only have one low slot and you need to use that for other modules. Movement speed is kind of your just general movement speed, not super slow, but not that fast really. Then of course the stamina, pretty low for a Sentinel, but that's okay because you're not going to really be running any very far with this thing. Then again, scan profile and precision. These are you're only gonna be able to see other Sentinels pretty much with these stats, but it's just kind of general, and your profile again is not low enough to use a complex profile dampener effectively. I'll mention that the max bandwidth here is 0, so using a Sentinel means that any equipment that you already placed down on another suit will instantly pop as soon as you switch over, so just be careful of that, and your melee damage is good for a Sentinel. Now let's take a look at the Sentinel skills for Caldari. Go and drop some command and go to our Caldari Sentinel. Okay, so Sentinel bonus gets 5% resistance to splash damage per level and a 5% reduction to PG CPU cost of heavy weapons per level. As a Caldari, this is actually really good to increase the splash damage even further with your shields, because your shields already get minus 20% or whatever to things like mass drivers and stuff. And so having more shields is always good. In most cases, your Sentinels dip into armor before you can actually do anything, and splash damage, while it helps, doesn't really, it kind of like negates it. As a Caldari Sentinel, that first bonus really helps. Then you also have a 3% shield resistance to hybrid blaster weapons, so that's Caldari weapons like assault rifles and shotguns and stuff, and then 2% shield resistance to laser weapons, so your scrambler rifles, your laser rifles, I guess that, well, maybe your scrambler pistols and stuff. Anyways, those two are both shield resistances, and I would say that these are the best two combination. The Caldari does have 2 armor ones, but they're not as great as having 2 resistances to shield-oriented weapons for your shields, and the fact that your shields are your majority of your health anyways. Then let's go back and check out fittings. So I have 2 example fittings here. The first one is your kind of general kill things fitting. It's got 3 extenders and an energizer here, as well as a complex shield regulator. This brings you up to quite a bit of shields for that, for your resistances to be able to take advantage of. But once you dip down into armor, you're pretty much screwed. So you don't have any armor repair at all, but you do have that shield recharge rate. This is great for just focusing on shields. You want to be dipping into cover a lot. That's why I'm using a burst HMG here instead of a normal one, because this is more of a hit and run Sentinel rather than just stand and deliver. While you can use it as a stand and deliver suit, it's very hard to use it at, with support, because repair tools only repair armor, which means that it only helps when you are down into armor, and because you only have 500 armor anyways, you're going to go down really fast after your shields go down. So be very, very careful of, pretty much whenever your shields go down below pretty much 200 armor, or I mean, what am I saying, 200 shields. And that doesn't really give you a lot of room. You want to, dip in, shoot a couple bursts off, whatever, and then duck back into cover, let your shields recharge because they come back really fast, and then go back at it. You definitely don't want to just stand there and take damage, because while you do have quite a bit of shields and all those resistances, especially to projectiles, because projectiles have minus 15% to shields. So going up against another heavy, you're going to have a lot easier time than the other sentinels, but once your shields go down, you are dead. You are instantly fried, and you definitely don't want them to go all the way down. I mean, if they do, then that's the time to literally just book it, because of your one, it's like, yeah, well, with the regulator, it goes down all the way to 0.77, at least for me it does. Might go down if you have better skills, but below a whole second, I don't think it actually goes below, but the main reason I have the regulator on is because the standard shield recharge delay, because getting hit by anything will trigger another 4 seconds or another 2.5 seconds if you are using the regulator. The problem with Caldari is that every single time that you get hit, you have to wait again until your shields can go back up. And this is why I do use a energizer on my suit instead of another extender. While yes, I could use 2 of these things, HP is definitely more important because you don't want to ever run into your armor. But in terms of having only a base of 30 instead of 50, that's 20 more shield recharge rate per second, which means that if you do get into a situation where you are constantly being hit, if you can trigger at least 1 or 2 charges of shield regeneration, even 3, if you get 3, that's 150 shields back. It, practically, that's 3 seconds, whatever. If you only have 30, that's only 100 shields. Now, in the long run, it might not make so much difference, but having even 1 burst give you, 50 HP. If you had a second one, that would give you like 70 HP. It's all about focusing on shield recharge, and it's very, very hard to use, especially as a newer player. I would say please use caution. If you are not experienced with Sentinels, don't go into this as the first one, unless you just want to use it for forge gunning, and that's what I'm going to mention here in this second fitting, is that it does have the most high slots, which means that it's the best, hands down best Sentinel suit for forge gunning. Not only does it have the most high slots, but it already has 30 HP per second that it regenerates. So it regenerates its health back really fast, able to like hide behind cover or whatever, and then come back out and start shooting again, as well as being able to stack damage mods and dealing a shit ton of damage. Again, it does have the 1 low slot. I would recommend using armor repair instead, because you are going to dip down into armor if you're going against any sort of assault dropship. But I would say that in terms of forge gunning, best, hands down best suit right there. Now, in general, when it comes to Caldari Sentinel play, you're going to play it just pretty much almost like in a mod. You're not going to rush any objectives. It's kind of more of a point defense thing, except for that instead of just standing there in a corner, maybe taking damage or something, or trying to outlast an opponent with your shields, as the Caldari, you really want to kind of duck in and out. You want to move from one position to another position, even if it's just around the corner, to confuse your enemy up a little bit. This will allow enough time for your shields to come back and give you the advantage of that, kind of like the first mover advantage. I'm not going to explain what that is, but basically what it is that you are invincible, kind of? Not really invincible, but you just, for the first couple seconds, you're going to not take any damage, as long as you know where the enemy is. If you know where the enemy is and you're waiting for them, you're going to be able to do that first bit of damage before they can start dealing damage to you. And even if they get off of the first shot or know exactly where you are, at least you'll have the HP to be able to regen back. And once you lose your HP, you just hide behind another corner again and rep it back up. You don't want to be moving too much with the Caldari Sentinel. Unlike the Amar that is based on support play, you really need to focus on ducking into a corner and then popping out and then ducking back in. Again, this is why it's probably the most difficult difficult Sentinel suit to use, because of shields and regulating your shields. But once you get used to that kind of cover play, the Caldari Sentinel becomes just absolutely fantastic. If I were to give it a rating, I'd probably say 7.5, 8. It does have the extra, it does have the ability to use forge gunning, or being able to use a forge gun and do other things besides just point defense stuff. But I don't think it's the best. Again, I'm kind of biased towards Minotaur, but Caldari Sentinel, very solid. It's still kind of slow. If you get out in the open, you're screwed. Your shields aren't going to be able to charge as long as you're taking damage, and it's very hard to move in and out of cover if you're not in that CQC environment, so be very careful of that. And that's pretty much it. See you guys later.